Hello YouTube, it's Accurate again, back with another video from the home studio. I'm thinking about changing that sentence to something else because it's getting kind of old. However, this is my 78,500 subscriber celebration Q&A.
Accurate Beats.
Alright, so it's maybe a bit of a weird number to celebrate, but if there's any reason to celebrate, why not celebrate? The fact is that I haven't been too active on this channel in a while, so I just figured I want to do something, and people always have a lot of questions, so let's just dive into it. So I asked you guys to send me questions both on Instagram and on the community page here on YouTube, so let's go. So first of all, of course, we have a lot of really nice questions about my health and how my recovery is turning out since I had the brain surgery. And yeah, I'm not going to talk about that too much in this video because I'm making a dedicated video on all of that stuff for the people who are interested, and I'm dropping that on the 9th of October on this channel. That's going to be the 1-year anniversary of my surgery, so at least to me that's going to be a little bit more fun and valuable to be able to look back at that full year and talk about everything I went through and how it turned out. What I should mention is that that video is going to be way more positive than negative. I've had so much luck during all this, and I've had some amazing support from my friends and family and even my subscribers here on YouTube. It's just crazy when you think about it, but yeah, I'm doing kind of good considering all the circumstances. It's been a lot and I've worked a lot to become whatever I am today, but again, more information about all of that on the 9th of October. Now, next question. Is there a specific key you're drawn to when making beats? For some reason, A minor gets me. As a matter of fact, I have to kind of agree. As soon as I sit down by some kind of keyboard, my hand just goes to A minor most of the times. Or G minor is also a chord that I'm trying to get used to more. But there's something about A minor and not having any of the black keys involved that just makes things a little bit easier, and I don't know, that's just what I go to. In a way, I think all keys should be treated equally, but you know, A minor just gets to me as well. How do you know when to chop a sample or just play it as it is? Well, the short answer here is that I kind of always chop my samples up, at least to try it out at first. If I find something really cool, like a really nice loop that I can use as it is, like I did in the Serato sample video a couple of weeks back, sure, in that case I can kind of use an entire loop, but my mind always tries to find different chopping points and slice it up as much as possible. Both because that's kind of a part of who I am and how I've started listening to hip-hop. Things were chopped up back in the days and I kind of like that sound, but also a little bit because I want to feel that I've done something to the sample. Just changing the pitch and letting it play and just add stuff to it isn't bad in any way. Sampling loops could be really cool, and that's good enough, but I don't know, I guess I'm just like that. I just like to chop it up and try different patterns and flip them around and change the pitch and the order of chops. That's just what I normally do. But again, there's no shame in sampling an entire loop, and as long as you're adding stuff to it and making it your own. I don't think so, but normally for me it's, you know, I'm chopping samples, that's what I do. Another one, are you still rocking Maschine? And yeah, of course I do. Maschine MK3 is still one of my mostly used tools in my studio. Sure, I use the MC707 and the SP404 and my MPCs for a lot of different stuff, but it's not like I've forgotten about Maschine. Definitely not. There's just something about the workflow of Maschine that's just stuck to me, like in the back of my head. It's there and I can't really forget it. No matter what I do, no matter what I work with, I kind of always tend to find Maschine to be the fastest one for me. And that's not because Maschine is way faster to work with than something like the MPC Live 2, it's just me. I've been into the Maschine ecosystem since Maschine Mark 1, and that workflow is just, you know, kind of natural to me. So I'm still working on Maschine kind of a lot, and well, having stuff in the studio sometimes just drags me towards other things, and I like to make music on synthesizers and the KeyStep Pro. That's really fun to use, and other stuff. But yeah, Maschine is always a good friend of mine, and it's always being used a lot in the studio. And here's another one, really specific question. Best bass plugin. And to me right now that has to be the Rickenbacker instrument from Native Instruments that goes inside of Kontakt. The Rickenbacker instrument there is this really nicely multi-layered sampled instrument from an electric bass guitar, basically. So it sounds like a bass, but it doesn't sound too much of an acoustic bass that it's not usable for the stuff I do. So right now I think the Rickenbacker is my favorite bass instrument, and normally I take that sound and I layer it up with with a synthesizer bass, like a normal sine wave played at a low octave with a low pass filter on it, so I just get some nice sub bass out of it. So that sub bass plus the more electric acoustic sound of the Rickenbacker bass. Those two together normally works for kind of everything that I need. Don't be afraid to layer your sounds. Layer your kicks, layer your snares, and also layer your bass instruments, as long as there's no phase issues going on. Phasing issues might be the word. Here's a good one. What's your optimal goal for your music production? Any dreams, hopes, etc.? Well, as far as music production goes, I don't have any goals to get any big placements with rappers or singers and stuff. That's not what I'm aiming for, at least not right now. I want to become even more of this instrumental artist that I'm trying to be and just release my own music as instrumentals as they are. Beats, instrumentals with scratch and samples and stuff. I'd love to release an album, like a beat tape on vinyl, and that's probably gonna happen sometime in the future, but you know, I'm not making any promises or whatever. That's just a dream of mine to release an album on vinyl, so that's one thing. But I'm really enjoying making these YouTube videos and having this YouTube channel and talking to people and being part of this beatmakers community, getting questions and being able to help people out and stuff. So I guess my big hopes and dreams for the future is to be able to work more on this YouTube channel as a professional thing that I'm doing. And maybe that's going to be a thing sometime in the future, depending on how it looks with Patreon and everything and whatever, when I'm getting back to work after this whole sick leave thing. I don't really know, but right now this YouTube thing feels a lot of fun and I'm still making music and I want to do an album. That's for sure. And then we have a lot of questions about how I got into making beats and making music and getting into all this stuff. So let me try to not talk about this for like half an hour. I guess it started when I was like 14, 15, and here in Sweden where I live, this big hip-hop wave of Swedish rap music came out, and that became like a really, really big thing. I had listened to like American rap way before that, like real gangster rap, like Ice Cube and Ice-T and stuff like that, and I really loved everything about hip-hop. And then this Swedish wave came with rap in Swedish, with Swedish rappers doing the Swedish thing but rapping. And yeah, me and a couple of friends of mine were kind of not doing bad stuff, but you know, we were kind of not finding the right thing to do with our time. And people in school noticed that we were kind of just hanging around and not having anything special to do. And my teacher in school back then, that had to be the 8th grade, maybe the 7th grade, he realized that I wrote all these papers on, you know, Snoop Dogg and Tupac and Biggie and stuff, and that I was obviously really into this hip-hop music kind of stuff. And he's a musician himself, so he took me and a friend of mine to a nearby studio where like young people normally hang out, like this community center place, and we tried to like write our own Swedish raps on the Gangster's Paradise instrumental by Coolio. We kind of tried to learn the studio and recorded ourselves rapping on that instrumental on like old school reel-to-reel tapes similar to this one. Making music with computers and stuff wasn't really a thing back in those days, at least not here in this small town where I live. That's how it kind of started, and it all snowballed from there. A few years later I tried this Magix Music Maker software on the PC. I did a little bit of music in Fast Tracker 2. Rebirth came out, I used that, and then I turned into Reason and Cubase, and you know, things just went on from there. And I've also always been really into technology, with building PCs back in the days and, you know, gaming a little bit and that sort of stuff. And as soon as I could afford getting my first MIDI keyboard, I just got a MIDI keyboard, I got another MIDI keyboard, and I think I got a third MIDI keyboard. Then I found this, what was that called? Like the Korg Pad Control, something like that. So my love for technology and music just came into one and became whatever it became. It all started from me just wanting to rap together with a friend of mine, and we rapped, and then I had other groups and different collectives of people making music together, and you know, We released like 2 albums of Swedish rap, me and a friend of mine. That's years later, by the way.
Men saker förändras, vår relation blir allt sämre. Det fanns varm kärlek, men något kallt hände.
Then I tried to work with artists and make beats for rappers and stuff for a few years. That was kind of not my thing. That was more a headache than anything else. Then we started this instrumental collective called Move Cut Clone in 2012, and I realized that I can do instrumental music, and from there, yeah, you kind of know the rest. That wasn't the short answer that I planned to make, but yeah, that's it. Now this is also kind of a common question, so let's try to tackle this one. Can you release tracks made with only Maschine, or do you feel they need to be edited / finished in other DAWs? Okay, so the way I normally work with Maschine, I tend to do my entire beat production in Maschine as it is. Then I export it and put it into Logic to, to record longer parts of audio, like scratching or adding, sound effects on one specific part of the track, where it's just easier for me to have a proper linear timeline and see everything that I'm doing. But if I wasn't recording scratch or putting those extra samples in there, I could definitely do everything that I need inside of Maschine. If you're just making loops and beats and you're arranging beats like that and you're not in totally need of putting something in a linear timeline, I think all of that stuff can easily be made inside of Maschine as it is. Putting the beat inside of Logic doesn't make it sound any different. You can put your whatever mastering effect you're using on your master bus in Maschine. That's not an issue. It can sound just as good and be just as finished. It's just a little bit easier for me sometimes to put it into Logic to actually see what I'm doing like that. But it's way more about having like the visual aspect of the arranging of the track like that than anything else. I definitely think you can release stuff straight from Maschine and just put it out and put it on SoundCloud or Spotify or whatever. That's doable for sure. For sure. So this video is soon coming to an end. Let's just bust out some really quick questions and give them quick answers. First, what laptop do you use? Any recommendations? I'm using a 2018 15-inch MacBook Pro with 16 gigs of RAM and a Core i7. It's good enough, but I've had a lot of problems with it, with my battery being swollen and the whole cooling system not being really efficient enough for video editing, at least. So I can't really recommend that computer. Just wait for Apple to release their own silicon MacBooks in the future. Those will be awesome. How do I apply to become a citizen of Latvia? I don't know. How do you find samples? Well, tracklib.com, that's awesome. Then I use splice.com a little bit, sounds.com a little bit. And of course, I'm using my record collection quite a bit as well. Do you have a 9-to-5 job? Yes, I do, and my plan is to get back to that work in a few weeks or maybe a month, depending on what my doctor says. I work as a coordinator at this youth facility for kids and young adults who wants to book a room or just do something. We have a music studio, we have some cameras that you can borrow, we have some meeting rooms and like a small cinema and a facility for dancing and stuff. I used to be kind of in charge of the studio, but I haven't been there in a while, so who knows? But yeah, I do have a 9-to-5 job, and that's it. Cool. What's the best part of being a YouTuber? I don't know, am I a YouTuber? I don't really... What's really cool about making videos and posting them online like this and having an audience is just the audience and the people commenting and needing help and having opinions and asking questions and stuff. The community part of doing this thing is the best about being a YouTuber. What's your opinion on subscription-based payment models like Adobe No More Permanent Licenses? That's a good question. I am an Adobe user. I edit my videos in Final Cut Pro, but I do all my thumbnails and a lot of other work inside of Photoshop and in Illustrator, and that's what I do sometimes for my job as well. And even though I really love those pieces of software, I think it completely sucks that they are subscription-based like they are. It becomes really expensive in the long run, and I would much prefer to just pay upfront an even bigger amount and just be done with it and just own the license myself. Now, renting software that you want to have access to for a short amount of time through like Splice or something, that's something a bit different to me, because then you have the option to buy the software or to rent it. And to rent stuff like that could be cool for some people in some circumstances, but that's not what I do a lot myself. But yeah, the question was about these subscription-based payments, and I'm not a fan. I'm just not a fan. The last one, any hopes on a in-depth how to use Maschine MK3 series or video? Well, that's kind of a headache. I have been thinking about making a video or a series like that for quite some time now, but I just haven't really found the time to do it and not really found the motivation to spend all the time of just planning and making and editing those types of videos. I guess I could do like Sarah did a while back, just make a course like that and actually sell it to people who want it, instead of just putting it on YouTube for free. But yeah, if that would be something that people would be really interested in getting, I could definitely see myself spending the time to do that, because it could be helpful for a lot of people, and I want to be able to help as many people as possible to be creative and make stuff. So I have thought a lot about it, but I haven't really gotten myself over the threshold to actually put the time and work in and do it. But maybe in the future, I'm not promising anything, but if enough people are asking me to do something like that, I would consider doing it. Did I just sound like a douchebag? I don't know, maybe. I'm sorry. So thanks a lot to everyone who submitted questions for this quick Q&A. I'm sorry that I didn't really have time to touch on all the questions, but that's just not possible for something like this. Thanks a lot for that. Thanks a lot for watching this video, and yeah, I hope to see you guys in the next one. Until then, ha det gott.
Accurate beats.